to my screen.
All right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our webinar. My name is Wajma Sadie. I'm the Director of Account Management at 522 Productions. Through today's webinar, we will be discussing what we call the marketing ecosystem. So we'll be giving the tools to not only build a strong video marketing plan, but also to build marketing resiliency. And as always, the goal for the webinar is to provide a resource that is actionable for your team. So today our hope is that you'll be able to take away these ideas and actually build a new video marketing plan for your organization. One that allows for your team to not only move forward during these unprecedented times, but also one that will allow for your organization to thrive, to always thrive, especially during these times where change is necessary. So for those of you guys who have missed our first webinar of this series, where we shared our framework for the crisis management and communication, no worries. Our goal is to do a short recap in the beginning, but then we can also share this, share the past webinar as a resource as well. So feel free to just reach out and we can send that right over. Before we jump into it, just a few housekeeping items as usual. We plan to make this event as interactive as possible. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop those questions in the Q&A section below. We, again, have a really amazing turnout. So we're going to do our best to get to all of the questions. If we aren't able to get to your question, though, we will definitely be following up to make sure that we have a chance to connect about whatever's on your mind. We will also be sending this webinar directly to those of you who have registered, so you'll be able to get that directly as well. And with that, let's go ahead and just jump into it. Again, my name is Wajma Sadie. I'm the Director of Account Management at 522 Productions. My role is to be here for you guys. The things that we're going to cover today are things that I'm super passionate about and would love to connect with. If you have any questions at all about the content that we're covering, about your own video marketing plans, how to put those into action, I'm here for you. My role is to be a resource and to help you guys maximize any video effort or marketing effort that you guys might have. Joining us again today is our CEO and VP of Client Services, Elisa Boston. Hello. And also we have a special guest, Rosie Aquila, from Iona Senior Services. Rosie is a strategic fundraising and nonprofit communications professional, and she's committed to storytelling and cultivating relationships. We're super excited to have her. She has 6 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, and we can't wait to hear her tell her stories about Iona. Hello, Rosie.
Hello.
All right, so during this webinar, we're going to break this down into 3 parts. The first part, we're going to cover our marketing ecosystem. We believe that taking action is going to, having a crisis planning framework is going to help your organization take action, especially during these important inflection points for your brand. In part 2, we're going to hear from Rosie, who's going to share her story about how they adapted quickly to the COVID-19 crisis and really pivoted so that they could host their annual fundraiser event virtually. And so this is something that I know a lot of our clients are actually asking themselves right now. You know, how are we going to move forward with events that we have been planning or that are very important to our goals? So we're really excited to hear this story from Rosie and how they pivoted to react, adapt, and recover. And then we're going to wrap up the event by sharing a very detailed guide to help you build your own video marketing resilience plans. And so within that section, Elisa is going to walk us through how to create and manage your plans so that the message resonates with your audience through the entire customer experience that is relevant to your own organization. So between these sections, we are going to plan to stop for questions and answers. So at any point, if you have a question, please feel free to drop that in there. I'm going to be moderating those and we will be able to get right back to you. All right, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Elisa to get us started on the marketing ecosystem.
Awesome. Thanks, Wajma. Hey, everybody. For those who are back from last webinar, it's great to see you again. For those who are new, welcome. We're here to help you. But over the past few weeks, why we're doing these webinars is because over the past few weeks, we've been working closely with a lot of our clients across many different industries and sectors and learning that even some of our biggest global companies are struggling to keep their marketing moving forward and collaborating remotely to do so. we covered in the last webinar this idea of this whole company approach, and this approach that maximizes the impact of your brand and the customer experience that you want to create. We know that organizations need marketing more now than ever, and we need to be smart about how we spend our marketing dollars and who we spend time marketing to. We also completely understand the historic business challenges companies are facing, and the vast majority of us marketers are learning about our marketing ecosystems and how fragile they actually are. So we're going to kind of recap a little bit of last webinar. Last webinar, we focused primarily on our planning framework. And this framework introduces as a benchmark. It's a building tool that we'll be leveraging moving forward to help guide us as marketers as we reflect, adapt, and rebuild marketing efforts. We are learning about business fragilities and the risks that they pose to our businesses in crisis, a crisis that we did not ask for and have no control over, and how that these risks are going to inform and adapt our business operations and continuity moving forward. So please do not disregard this framework, as it is extremely relevant and functional today, as it will maintain its relevancy for the next 10 years. So please embrace this framework, because it will do nothing but make your lives easier. As we build towards our new norm and adjusting our marketing sales effort, we must recognize that marketing is now an ecosystem for our business. And our marketing ecosystem is a very complex community. It's an interconnected organism of content, process, technology, and people. All the things that we love as marketers are going to collide. And so ensuring all aspects of our ecosystem will provide us a certain level of sustainability and help regulate those essential processes that support all areas of our business and organizational goals. These main headliners that I'm choosing to showcase here, and I'm pointing to my screen because I have multiple screens around me, is going to support our framework. And it's also going to help overcome those pitfalls that we heard about in the first webinar and help us kind of manage rebuilding moving forward. The first headliner that I'd like to address is plan for the long game. Going back to first order and third order thinking, we need to make quick decisions today for short-term tactical results while keeping our long-term strategy view in mind. Please avoid at all costs those knee-jerk reactions that might damage or limit your recovery efforts once this crisis is over. We'll review planning and how huge effect it has on our customer journey later on. But for now, it's our main one that we're going to work on. The next one is plan to audit. This headliner is important because we are going to be talking about the digital audit today, and it's an opportunity for us to streamline our workflows and identify hidden capital. Hidden capital is huge because that hidden capital is going to allow us to reinvest in growth activities and re-engineer processes that our customers will be able to embrace during this changed world. Capital takes investment and process to get through. Monitoring consumer sentiment. This is our third one. This isn't monitoring your digital analytics. It's monitoring your customers' feelings. Understand the sentiment that they have, with your brand. Look for cues and insights that are going to allow us to keep the pace with what consumers are thinking, as well as how they're feeling. These behaviors is how you're going to view your new relationship with your brands. They're going to view the relationship with your brand. And it's also going to create this kind of like opportunity that we're going to need to adjust in the future moving forward. So the last one is plan to commit. This one's an important headline. Commit is a huge, huge one. It sounds simple to do, but it's actually very extremely hard to actually take action on. Now, I've thought about having this be our first headliner in this marketing ecosystem, but it wasn't sitting quite well with me because, see, this is a linear thought process, right? It's plan, audit, monitor, commit. So as you look at it in that process, we can't really put commit first because it's not in the beginning. It's not really ready yet. See, you're not committing to the crisis. You didn't want to adjust your strategies. As marketers, we probably all sat down in 2019 and planned out 2020. It was like, we've got our goal, we have all of our campaigns intact, we've got the whole year planned out. We probably spent months doing it, but we didn't commit to this crisis. We were forced to deal with it. So having commit be first, it has to be, you're not committed to what just happened. You're committed to making sure that you're proven sustainability with your marketing. So this is a behavioral change that scales over time, and you're committing to your journey. It's not as simple as committing to one phase or one task, but you're committing to this marketing ecosystem that's going to be the most powerful event that you're able to create. And we understand that marketing right now is probably under a considerable strain and being very pressure tested in a variety of different ways, some of which we may have never anticipated, nor did we want to shift to. So committing to a journey and the constant behavioral changes that is going to help us build a stronger and more resilient marketing ecosystem for the long haul. So framework, marketing ecosystems are two words that I'm going to use a lot. If you ever know me, if you know me for 10 years, you're going to hear me say these things a lot. So today we have a very special guest, and that's Rosie from Iona. We have had the honor to work alongside her in this amazing organization for the last few years. And they are going to share with you a personal journey around marketing and fundraising challenges that they have had, how they adapted during crisis, and the road to recovery and rebuilding their marketing efforts. This is a super powerful customer case study. And we're super excited to have Rosie here with us because it's a true showcase of marketing resiliency and the use of the framework. And so the more that you can put it into applicable use, the better you will be. And that's why we have Rosie with us today. So I'm sure everyone on this webinar today and everyone who watches this webinar later will be able to resonate with at least one part of her story. I know I did, and I know you will. So welcome, Rosie.
Thank you. Thank you. So hello again. I'm Rosie Aquila. I work on the development and communications team at Iona Senior Services. We are a local nonprofit here in DC that serves older adults and their families. We've been around since 1975, so we're celebrating our 45th anniversary this year. Our mission is to support older adults and family caregivers through the opportunities and challenges of aging. We directly help more than 3,500 older adults and family caregivers each year, and we do this by caring for, connecting, and nourishing people in mind, body, and spirit. We have more programs and services than I could possibly get into during this short webinar, more than 20. But just some examples of the work we do: we offer home-delivered meals, adult day health services for people with Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, or other challenges. We have case management. Most of my colleagues are social workers. And we have a free helpline that anyone can call to get resources or referrals to services. So as you can imagine, the coronavirus has really impacted our work, but we've worked really hard to continue as many of our programs and services as we can. Our staff of 60 plus is working from home, of course. Our center is closed, yet we continue to respond to urgent needs for food, for medications. We're working with more than 400 vulnerable older adults right now to make sure that their benefits don't run out or their in-home services don't stop, and food and cleaning supplies and basics like toilet paper is getting delivered to them. We also have moved a whole bunch of programs online, so we're having teletherapy, virtual support groups, fitness classes, really as much as we can do online we're doing. Even a ukulele class, which I think is really cool, and that's my big win, I think. So in terms of my work and how it was disrupted by this crisis, obviously it was disrupted in a lot of ways. I'm coming to you from my bedroom. But one in particular was related to our fundraising luncheon, which is the Heart of Caring. We host it every year in May. The event is our only fundraiser every year. It's a really key element to our sustainable fundraising model. It's an inspiring program. It's a great event for a community of supporters to come together. It's also an acquisition tactic because it introduces new people to our mission and then gives us an opportunity to further deepen a relationship with those guests and supporters after the event. It is a table captain model. So we work with table captains who invite 9 people to fill a table of 10, typically have like 24, 26 tables, about 240, 250 people in attendance. We don't sell tickets, it's free, but there's a fundraising pitch at the end of the program, which is when we ask guests to make a gift towards Iona's ongoing operations and the kind of funding that is by far the hardest to come by. Our day of giving goal is $140,000. Last year, we raised more than that. We also raise funds to sponsor the program. We have a leadership gift announced at the luncheon to inspire more giving. So all told, this fundraiser raised last year just under $500,000. So it is quite significant within our fundraising efforts and our revenue goals. So we knew that our decision-making in light of this crisis could have really serious consequences for our organization. So we began to consider alternatives to our luncheon in early March, not knowing exactly what would happen. I don't think we were really expecting that we'd be working from home right now. But we still kind of recognized that we at least needed a contingency plan. We were still hopeful about moving forward with our original luncheon date, which was scheduled to be May 14th, so next week, but we wanted to plan as much ahead as we could. Our thinking being that we wanted to be prepared and proactive. I didn't come across this Jeff Brooks quote, who's a nonprofit kind of guru, until after we were all working from home, but I think it really represents what our team was feeling and how we wanted to approach our fundraiser. So he says, in a time of reactivity, be proactive. Acting quickly will nearly always pay a dividend. And we really took that to heart as we started to kind of think through all these different plans. And we considered a lot of different plans and ideas and pivoted from them quite a bit. Pivot was definitely the word of the day, if not the month, maybe even the year. We'll find out soon enough if Webster's Dictionary agrees as the word of the year. But for us, it meant that in early March, prior to working from home, we first considered postponing our luncheon until August. We got a new date on the calendar with our caterer and venue just in case, but kind of as the crisis took new shape, we realized that we just couldn't postpone and not raise money right now too. We'd really be hurting ourselves financially. We also realized that planning ahead was not going to absolve any of our anxieties or that of our communities, because to postpone until August when we couldn't guarantee that August will be safe seemed really risky. August is also the beginning of a lot of work we do in direct mail, and realistically we knew that we just wouldn't be able to host a luncheon at the same time, or our team just wouldn't have the capacity. And our fiscal year also ends in September, so it felt a little unnerving to be leaving so much of our fundraising goal towards that last quarter. So then we pivoted and we next considered live streaming a live event. So we thought we'd have the entire program, we'd still have the testimonial speakers, our executive director, we just bring everyone together and film it and stream it live. And in this case, social distancing and stay-at-home orders made it impossible. To be honest, we were also really intimidated by the technology. We just didn't know if our venue had the right internet hookups, and we just didn't really know how we'd go about doing it. So then we next considered scrapping the luncheon completely and instead focusing on alternative fundraising tactics like peer-to-peer online campaign. And at this point, we're all working from home as we're brainstorming. Even as a team, we're learning new technology like Zoom and Slack. And honestly, we had kind of a hiccup with the technology needed to do a peer-to-peer campaign. And we felt such an urgency that we didn't want these technology challenges to slow us down and inhibit us from fundraising now. So we pivoted again. And that took us to streaming a pre-recorded video. I actually didn't know that that was a possibility until I myself had participated in a webinar and they had mentioned it. And then I watched a YouTube tutorial on how to stream a pre-recorded video, and I thought, well, okay, maybe we can try that. So Iona had also worked with 522 Productions in the past to produce a 7-minute film, which we typically showed during our luncheons program. So we knew that a film had the possibility of being really emotional, really compelling, really motivating, but there were still a lot of risks. We really approached it as an experiment. We had no expectations on registrations or how much money we would raise. we just felt such an urgency to be offering something to our community and some way for us to share how Iona was responding to the crisis and offer an opportunity for them to support our efforts. But would people sign up? How would we get them the URL to watch the video? What if it buffers? Will people watch a video for that long? These were legitimate questions, but we also knew that decision paralysis would be our downfall. And again, kind of thinking about that Jeff Brooks quote, acting quickly will nearly always pay a dividend. So that was our thought process and decision process in terms of what we were going to do. To kind of take a step back, I find it also explained why we even decided to shift our communications and event strategy. In retrospect, of course, we know that even if we hadn't wanted to move forward with this new approach, we would have been forced to, just because of the stay-at-home orders, or at least we would have been forced to cancel our May 14th event. So the good news was that because we started preparing really early for this virtual program, even prior to those orders, we were able to kind of get ahead of the curve and share something with our community earlier than a lot of other organizations. So for us, the decision-making really came down to the health and safety of our community and the relationships that we've spent a long time building with our community. March and April are typically the months where we spend working with our table captains and on their guest lists and checking in with them. And it immediately became clear that reaching out to our table captains about an event in May during this time of transition and uncertainty would be really tone deaf. We might have table captains who are working from home, who are homeschooling their kids, who are worried about loved ones, or they themselves are sick. And to be asking them to invite people to an in-person event on our behalf just seemed really inappropriate. And at the same time, though, we knew our donors and supporters in our community are in our community because they care, and they might welcome the opportunity to do something good and to help. So going radio silent really does them a disservice because they do care deeply about our mission and about the people we serve. Another Jeff Brooks nugget of wisdom, he says, if you are afraid your fundraising program could collapse, shutting down your fundraising now is the most likely path to that possibility. Basically meaning that the only guarantee of not raising money is by not asking or doing any activities to raise money. So we realize that while going silent, while we're nervous, while things are uncertain, that would just be the worst possible move that we could make. So we moved forward with this virtual video as our new plan A. And so this new approach meant that we developed a 30-minute Heart of Caring video with 522 Productions. It follows the same kind of general template of our luncheons program in terms of the speakers and the order in the video. But kind of going into this virtual event, we realized that we would have to balance our kind of regular fundraising model and some of those tactics while acknowledging that this was uncharted territory. We might have to try some new things. For us, that meant that we still utilized the table captain tactic from our luncheon model, but we expanded it to include board members, other friends of Iona, who we asked to make invitations to their networks on our behalf and register folks online. We also then expanded upon that tactic by also making phone call invitations to our donors, which gave us the chance to check in with them, see how they're doing. We sent an email invitation to our entire base from our executive director. And we ultimately decided to make the video available to everyone, whether they had registered or not, by sending out the link an hour before we went live. Another new tactic we adopted for the virtual event was creating a promo video, which we distributed on our social media channels as a way to spark interest and drive traffic to our registration. And again, this was totally new for us. We never used video in this way on our social media channels. We also leveraged our executive director's personal social media networks. We had her post about the event on her page, and then Iona would share those posts. Again, totally new tactic, never tried it before. But we found that it had a lot higher engagement level because of it coming directly from her. And then after the event, we opted to publish the video on our YouTube channel so that people can still watch. And now we're in the process of developing shorter vignette videos, like 45 seconds to a minute, to continue to drive traffic to our donation page. And we're going to put those on our social media channels and maybe email them out. Still figuring out what that's going to look like, but it's a new kind of exciting tactic we're trying. So for us, key in our strategy was evaluating and adjusting as needed. One of the hardest things about this is just how quickly things changed. And so for us, it was really important to be on top of the change, be as proactive as we could. But that meant that we made changes a lot. So an example, with our registrations, we initially wanted to stick with the table captain model. But as we started to see people register, we realized, well, we need to expand beyond that. So we changed our audience. We had more people make invitations for us. We also shifted our messaging a little bit because we got feedback that some people wanted to just make a gift now and didn't quite understand why they needed to sign up for the video. So we realized that our messaging really needed to make the case for why someone might want to attend this, and it wasn't just about fundraising, although that was a key part. It was also an inspiring program for people to join our vision and that acquisition piece. So our results. Our event was last week, literally a week ago. Amazing. And we're still evaluating all of our results and going through the data, but generally speaking, it was a real success, and especially for an experiment. Our day of giving was $37,257. We had 264 viewers consistently during the stream. People continue to watch it and make donations, which is awesome. We're up to 928 views on YouTube. Our totals for the event are up to $60,172. And because we didn't cancel the event completely, we still had sponsorship gifts and a leadership gift, including a $100,000 match challenge, which we're also now using to continue a fundraising campaign in direct mail and online. So our grand total so far, $390,292. Which is amazing. And to give it some context, like, yes, the fundraising video raised less than what we would see in our in-person event, but our online campaigns like Giving Tuesday, kind of in comparison, have typically raised between like 5,000 to 10,000. So in that regard, it was extremely successful. Another thing that we saw different was multi-year pledges. So in our normal luncheon model, we ask for a multi-year pledge as part of the sustainability. So people are making a commitment of a gift for 5 years. We found that fewer people did that in this virtual streamed event. It's still a little too early to know for sure why. One thought that I have is just that people don't want to make that kind of financial commitment right now. Maybe thinking ahead multiple years when the future is so ambiguous is just, it's a different context, whereas answering an urgent appeal with a one-time gift could be more realistic for them. While we pitch this as an alternative to our luncheon, it's also not the only thing we're going to do. The work continues. Our team is being proactive, trying new approaches. This video was just one piece of our larger fundraising strategy that includes donor relationships and multi-channel approaches online and direct mail. But the experiment was a success, and we now have these new tactics in our arsenal, like using video or these vignette videos to our social media channels to really leverage and continue going forward with those new tactics. So overall, lessons learned, my advice is to not fall into the trap of decision paralysis. Give yourself the freedom to be flexible and experimental. We can't wait for things to go back to normal. I think that survival really is rooted in our ability to kind of move with the change, adapt, kind of accept that the normal might be different and lean into that. And the only way to guarantee you won't make money is if you don't ask. And that's it. I would be happy to answer any questions from you now. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you, Lisa. We have quite a few questions coming in, so let's just jump right in. Awesome. Rosie, I think this is to you, but Lisa, I will pose it to you as well because I'm interested in your thoughts. But the question is, what are common mistakes that you see made in videos, especially for nonprofit?
Ooh, Lisa, I don't know if you have from a video production standpoint, but at least with this film specifically, and I know in the nonprofit world, a lot of times we talk about being too overproduced and, does it look like you spent too much money on it? And I think that for us, it was really fun to kind of lean in to the fact that we were all filming from home, and to kind of give it that like scrappy look of we're all on Zoom and this is what our life looks like right now. So I think maybe trying to make it look too perfect just wouldn't be the reality of what we're all experiencing right now.
I would say from a video marketing perspective from the agency, and as our experience working with different nonprofits, large and small, variety is a huge pitfall. Sometimes nonprofits will hone in on maybe just mission itself, but they will focus on fundraising in a different perspective, like a very personal appeal, or it's vice versa. It's always focused on revenue generated type content versus the support of the community and the relationship. So I think one of the challenges that nonprofits have is variety. And I think it does come with, an expense. And so they have to kind of itemize throughout how to plan for those expenses. But 2020 makes video marketing and creating video very easy and very affordable. And it's actually you can leverage it more. And so the cool thing is I'm going to show you how to in a little bit, but I think variety is a key pitfall for a lot of nonprofits because they get stuck in one area and that's the only thing they can focus on at that moment.
Great. Since we're talking about nonprofits, we had a couple additional questions in that category, so I'll just keep that going. The next question was, Rosie, I think it's for you. For nonprofits, how do you continue moving forward on goals related to other issues other than COVID-19 without being out of touch?
It's a really good question. And I will say that because I happen to work for an organization that serves older adults and their family members, but especially older adults, it's easy for our messaging related to our mission to relate really closely with the coronavirus. But that being said, some advice that I've come across and has resonated with me is just the fact that like your donors are your donors because they care, and they cared about your mission before this pandemic, and they'll care about it after if you maintain those relationships with them. I think right now your donors would love to hear just how are you surviving? How are you doing? Like they cared about your mission before, so they'd want to know how are you adapting, and whether it's directly, like we're all impacted by the coronavirus. So whether you're doing direct service or not, you're still impacted.
Great. There's another question here, kind of similar to that. Have you seen any benefits from the new tactics that you all have used for the virtual campaign?
Definitely. And I will say, like it was a week ago, so we're still figuring out even what all those benefits are. And actually in like a little bit, I'm having a Zoom meeting with my team to talk about lessons learned and everything. So we're still figuring it out. But one thing, just the reach that we were able to have that we can't have in just our normal luncheon model. And as a result, I think it's even more of an acquisition tactic than it used to be. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that we've gotten way more first-time donors than we previously have. And to have those new donors, it's bringing more people into our community, and we're hopefully able to cultivate those relationships and deepen them so that when we're open up again, we might invite them to see our building or have a meeting with our executive director, but we'll just be able to leverage those in a way that we may not have been able to before.
Awesome. I think this one's going to be for both of you all. What insights into, or do you have any insights into why this video was so successful? Rosie, I actually think that's for you, but I'd love to get Elisa's thoughts on that as well.
I think it was really inspiring and emotional. I mean, we told the truth. So again, we're really fortunate that Iona's story is really inspiring and emotional, but I mean, we had people who've benefited from our programs film themselves talking about it over Zoom, and then we took that footage and added music, and but it was so authentic, I guess, like that authenticity, just people can connect to it, and that's what makes it so motivating.
Got it.
Yeah,
Lisa?
I'll say from our perspective, I think from the first phone call, and Rosie might slap me for this, but I think Iona was a little bit anxious about this process and what we could accomplish. And, you know, 522, we were like, sure, we could do this. We could do this. How about we do this? Let's do this. Let's launch it. They were like, no, we're going to, you know, so I think we found a happy medium, but I think why it was successful is because we took in 30 minutes, took donors through their story, their journey. We took them from awareness to consideration to evaluation to heartfelt. We adopted them into their world and their business, and we made them feel what they were feeling. And we were able to do that in a video that was computer to computer. There was no personal connection, but you can still have that personalization that makes people decide how they want to like proceed with that organization. And I think that's true for any company, right? You can do that. You can tell that story very seamlessly and very emotionally and very tactfully if it's like thought out and well planned and stuff. So I think what's more successful is that now Iona has more content to use throughout this entire journey, which changes in their marketing strategy, because now they've seen that success. They've been able to kind of put a benchmark to it. Now it kind of opened up a lot of doors for Iona, which I hope will in the future, not just in a couple of weeks, but for the next few years, would allow them to like kind of speak more communicatively to their audience on completely different channels that they never thought they could have.
Yeah. Also to add to that, we like one of the elements in our regular luncheon model is what we call like the emotional hook, but having something that draws people into your mission. And in the luncheon model, like different example, you know, it'd be starting with a poem read by a client or music, something like that. But so the video actually allowed us to be really creative in what that could be. And so we ended up asking staff members to make videos of themselves saying, like, what do they miss? What inspires them about our work right now? And it was really cool to make these kind of montage of different staff members talking. And they were involved in the Heart of Caring event in a way that they haven't been in the past. So that was really, really cool too. And as Elisa said, we now have all this content. So like not everything could fit into the 30-minute film, but I am already thinking about ways that I can use the content that maybe we didn't use to just share it on our social media channels find other ways to repurpose it.
That's great. So we do have another set of time at the end of the webinar for more questions. So please keep your questions coming in. I think to keep us moving though, let's go ahead and move on to the next part of the webinar, which will be Elisa talking about the marketing resiliency.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, definitely more questions, please. We're happy to answer them. But let's get into like building marketing resiliency, because I think this is super important. I think everybody find this super valuable. In our last webinar, we talked a little bit about the checklist manifesto of video marketing. And this list is going to help us kind of take action while we rebuild our marketing framework. Two main areas that we're going to focus on today are going to be the most critical, we believe, in leveraging your video content in any capacity. And those two very important elements are going to be our digital asset audit, as well as our customer journey experience. Again, rest of this checklist is definitely applicable, but for today, we're only going to focus on two. And the first one is going to be the value of our digital asset audit. Some people call this a DAM, but if you have any type of online presence, you must have an audit of your content. Even if you are just getting started, even if you have 3 pieces of content, or if you have 3,000 pieces of content, you have to have a way to manage and monitor everything that you publish in any marketing kind of platform. The true value of a digital audit is to thrive in your business ecosystem, where your brand management, your campaign management, your customer success, your asset usage, your analytics, and your impact all interconnect into this harmonious way of bringing your organism together. It's extremely important to be able to see your content across your customer journey, and to be able to leverage traditional marketing with your video marketing. As you saw before, our ecosystems are complex. They're oftentimes overwhelming and confusing. But if we can successfully manage our community of assets, we will have a thriving ecosystem. And I think this is very important audit. I think it's a very important step that every company must do now and today. Two of those aspects, that the two components that really matter in this digital asset audit is going to be the collection of your current assets. Everything that you have, websites, social media, offline marketing, blog, sales sheet, sales pitch, anything that you have. Also collect those analytical information like your HubSpot reports, your Google Analytics reports, any of your social media channels that are tracking. That way you can evaluate the effectiveness of your content. And if you can hone in on areas that are not effective, then you know where to pivot. The second piece is going to be research. During this phase, you will be looking at like the digital, like kind of competitiveness in the market space. As 522, we do this digital competitive research on a quarterly basis because we, in our industry, we have so many competitors. We have in so many different levels as well. So we are looking at video production, we're looking at video marketing, we're looking at digital marketing, we're looking at agencies, we're looking at client industries. So where we sit in the ecosystem of this global economy, we look at everything so that we know how to be competitive within your industries. And that's what makes us successful as a partner. Also look at tactics and different things. I would also say, look at your competitors' stuff. Be creepy about it. Because what we want to do as marketers is work smarter, not harder. So if something out there is working, note it, and you can make sure to take it on. And there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the example, but make the content entirely your own so that it envelops your mission and your goals as well. And quick story, I will say during our audit, one thing that we uncovered was that some of our competitors were using our name as a prime keyword in their PPC campaigns. And they were paying top dollar for it, which is actually kind of extremely flattering, but it's also trademark infringement. So if we had not done our audit, we would have not caught it. So lucky for our competitors, we did. But now because we caught their mistake in that audit, we capitalized on it. So that gives you an idea of how valuable doing this research and doing your audit is. Now, everybody's digital audit will be different, and it's going to be based on what you have and how you use it and what you want to do with it in the future. I do want to show you 522s because we did do it. It's a mess, but what I love about it is that it gives us the ability to filtrate everything that we have. We committed to part of the ecosystem, which was reducing outsourced fees and transferring all of our costs into high quality content and staffing. By doing this audit, it allowed us to figure out where and how we needed to build a team to maintain that type of quality. During this, we also reestablished our customer personas, we reestablished the journey, we developed new external and internal funnels that helps us be able to utilize this asset. It was very painful and time consuming. Wajma will contest because she was part of it. But you have to walk now in order for you to run later. Also, take note of the colors because they're going to come into play in a little bit here. So make sure you know the colors. My thing is with the digital asset is be patient, be purposeful, do it. It's going to be painful, but you're going to thank me later. The payoff of the work will just not only reinforce your customer experience, but it's going to help you repurpose all your content for the funnel. And this is a tangible way to make sure that you're affecting your customers the right way. The second part of this in our checklist is to talk about our journey, our customer journey. So I put together this hourglass funnel. In light of COVID and new behaviors amidst what we have right now in this crisis, this is a perfect time for you to reassess your customer experience. This hourglass funnel is now a new trend. And we've been seeing it over the last few months, but nobody's really adopted it because I don't think anybody really understands how it actually works. So I'm a firm believer of this, and I believe the only way a company is going to be able to function in its most effective way is to see the big picture of customer success. It's the only way to build this funnel. This funnel is the only way for you really to understand the personal relationships your customers are going to have with your brand, which is why everything we do for us moving forward, everything we do moving forward with our clients is going to be involved in this funnel, the buyer's journey plus the customer's journey. This illustration kind of forces us also to acknowledge this transient and ever-changing nature of our lives and the businesses around us. We are instant gratification. That is the world we live in. So we need to adapt accordingly to make sure that we're able to provide that relationship and that personal time with our customers, because that's going to be a huge marketing effort. And we cannot stop at purchase. Everybody just wants to, like, top of the funnel, we got to purchase, thumbs up. But what about the rest of it, right? The rest, this bottom part of this funnel is the most important piece of it. This is what builds your ecosystem. So I'm going to walk quickly through some of these aspects because some of them are not different. Some of them will be different. Some areas I want to explain quickly. So we're in the hourglass funnel. This is a tactful way to look at it. Two areas I want to call it is the awareness phase. Top of the funnel now is being split into 3 different areas, which means your content has to act accordingly. Remember, from the last time we talked in the webinar, our buyers are smart. They are spending more time in the awareness phase, getting educated, doing way more research, and evaluating their options of what they need because they have so many options. Awareness phase has to be factual and not fluffy. The other area I want to call out is that we're going to be splitting the decision phase into 2 different phases. And it's not so much about evaluation as it is justification. We find a lot that customers and clients have to justify the internal buy-in. It's a thing. We know that people have to either get executive sign-off, or there's 10 other key stakeholders that need to make the decision, or at some point there's more people involved. So we need to understand our key stakeholders and make buying a personal adventure for them so that the experience is easy. Once you justified it, you're able to move them past. So this slide represents what we're doing, right? What is our audience doing? What are we doing? What do we have our audience doing with our market? It's very tactical. In the first webinar, I mentioned that video marketing, as we approach it, we understand our audience in only 2 ways. How are people thinking and how are people feeling? And so I have a little bit of a surprise for Rosie because I know she likes Jeff Brooks. And I have another quote for her, which I don't know if she's seen or not. Giving is a deeply emotional act. People give when their hearts tell them to give. Their heads only have the slightest say. This is not only true for fundraising, but it applies to all purchasing power across all products and all services. People will consider the data, people will consider the insight, people will consider the education, but at the end of the day, the ultimate decision is going to come to their guts. So we now need to make the 2 work together. Education, tactics, and emotions is how we work with it. So how do we talk about emotions in our customer funnel? We do it easy. As soon as I get the slide up. We show them value. So this slide is all about relationships and emotions. We provide them value. We earn trust. Notice I didn't say we build trust, because that's been a coined term in marketing. Let's build trust. We're not building trust. We have to earn it. That's the key differentiator. Once you've earned it, you can then confirm your experience, because once they trust that your experience is real, they will start listening. Then you can get them to yes. Once you get them to yes, that's when we get to nurture them. But it's not nurture them like, hey, congrats, you just signed a new client. It's congrats, you just earned a new friend. Again, another differentiator is that you've just built a relationship. You've earned the trust and the relationship of this person. Don't stop, keep it going. So now it's time that you can give them resources and tools and education and make it fun. Nobody wants to go through drab stuff anymore. Make it fun. And that's what power of video helps you do. The other thing I want to call it is growing with your clients, right? It's an important change in your mindset to understand it's not about how that client is going to grow your bottom line, but it's about how you as the company are going to grow your client's bottom line. Prove your value, prove your ROI, and at that point, both company and client intertwined, tactic plus relationship, will grow at the same time. And by growing together, you get to earn a customer for life. And that's the mindset we want to get to by the end of this journey. It's just like friendship, right? If a true friend is with you, you don't have to talk to them all day long. You can talk to them in 10 years and you can still have that same fun conversation because you will be friends for life. Same philosophy here. These two funnels, tactical plus emotional, is the only way that you can tell your company story through traditional marketing and video marketing, creating this ecosystem of experience. We are not saying, we can tell the effectiveness because the only way to tell a story is through digital video. And video plays an extremely important role in that connectivity. And so keeping those two together is what really makes the difference. So we know the power of video. We know the power of video is it's boundless. And we're here to tell you that it's also limitless. There's so much that you can do with it. Well, I'm not going to read you these statistical numbers. A few key takeaways that I want to note are even without COVID, I should say, there's a strong indication that video's popularity will rise even further in 2020. Our customers like to watch video, lots of video. So a downfall of not having variety is going to be a pitfall of your revenue. And it plays a very key role in this holistic whole company approach where your journey, the story of your brand is going to come to play. People want to see and hear your story. They want to hear your success because your success is going to be their success. So with the power of video being so immense, how do we leverage it? This is a table that we aggregated and put together. Video content marketing is about considering how video can be integrated into every stage and channel of your marketing strategy, alongside the other forms of your content. Its focus is to create video content that is useful, entertaining, and interesting for your audience, which encourages them to engage in your story further. Our current reality has forced us as marketers to be far more driven, I think, about this hourglass funnel and to have a very clear video marketing plan because people want to know what they need. They don't want to be broadcast to with these predefined moments anymore. Before, we were always trying to just kind of push out content because that's what people told us to do. It was all predefined and pre-exposed. Now people want to be personalized. They want content that's personalized to them. And I'm saying not to ditch your traditional marketing and only do video. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying you need to do both because that is how you get the most ROI and drive the right message to the right audience at the right time for the most profitable customer action. So the primary goal right now, if the key takeaway is that all companies needs to have 2 marketing plans intertwined together for true success. What types of video you use is to be determined, right? Is it live action? Is it animated? Is it virtual event? Is it live event? Is it streaming? Is it stock? Is it infographics? We can do whatever, but the point is that we need to evaluate and build the content for maximum usage for growth. Do not think one video is going to accomplish everything that's in this chart. It's not. Let's take a few examples. And so I have some cool stats that I do want to talk about. So here's how you leverage video. Let's say you have an email marketing campaign. A lot of times companies do traditional email campaigns. We've done them in the past. We have drip campaigns for cold outreach, for warm leads, for education, whatever we need to do. And we decided that we were going to take a traditional email as a test and put a video to it, something we've never done. So we did it. We took a traditional email, and here's some stats. The traditional email went out on a cold outreach. It had a 1% click-through rate on unique opens. Cold outreach, unique opens. So we took that email and we put a video in it. And it was one of our sales team members who did an awesome job. We sent that email out, same thing, cold outreach on unique opens, and it got a 9.4% click rate. So we put a second video out, same campaign, different wording. The second video went out and it had a 5.6 click-through rate. So we just proved that simple emails with video has engagement power. The best numbers, I think, were the open rates. So there's a difference with the click-through rates and then there's open rates. The open rate on the first email had a 17.6% open. The second email that went out had a 55% open rate. So you could see where that video actually plays a key role. Now that video isn't just living up here at the top of the funnel. We can actually repurpose it, but that's the whole point of video marketing. With a plan in place, you can see across all of your channels how you can leverage the same video at different stages of the funnel. The other thing we can talk about is like this webinar today. We can definitely, this video isn't dead at 3 o'clock, right? We're gonna take this video and we're gonna leverage it top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and at the bottom of the funnel for content distribution, because we can use it for education, we can use it for training, we can use it for awareness, we can use it for all kinds of different things. But you gotta be smart about the content, you gotta be smart about the messaging so that when you do distribution, you know where to put it. And I think that's the same thing for Iona. They're gonna have content that they can use pre and post event that they never had before. And this is gonna be able to strengthen their social media channels, which they didn't have before. So now they have a whole nother marketing plan that they should be working on, which is social media, because we've seen the engagement is there. Again, video marketing works if it has maximum usage for the highest growth outcome. You have to be able to leverage the videos more than once, but you have to be able to design them based on the goals and based on your channels. So I'm going to show you 522's journey map, because part of this explains a little bit on how we map out our funnel to our content. Better change the slide. We like to use color, and remember I talked about color before, but this is how we connect the dots. So this is our journey. This allows us to color code our assets per our journey, per our funnel. We've been able to build through this, and it's still an evolution. This will never be complete. And if you think it's going to be complete, that's where you're going to fail. This should constantly change. This allows us to run faster and go to market with our customer experience as our customers need things, and we focus on the framework and the marketing ecosystem to be able to position the videos and the content for the biggest impact. And this is how we function with our clients. So when you sign up for 522, we're going to ask you questions. We're going to want to know where we fit in this funnel so that we can actually provide you the right content. And so one of the things that we get a lot too is, well, I made a video, where do I put it? Can't tell you, because that's going to be based on your goals and your audience and your metrics. But I did aggregate and put together this nice little itemized breakdown of hot channels and how marketers are actually going to be spending some of their money this year in 2020 and probably 2021. Two things that surprised me. One was LinkedIn. That actually ticked up way higher. It was actually below Facebook and Instagram Live. And I think the reason that this is ticking up is because they're actually doing a really great job working through their ad spend, as well as being able to integrate video into their feeds and being able to make sure company pages are able to function with video and stuff. So you'll see LinkedIn start ticking up. One that actually really did surprise me, which was TikTok. And I did a little bit of back-end research, and I think we all should start sharpening our skills, practicing our user-gen video content, because I see this platform kind of ticking up a little bit. So word of advice, let's all get better on TikTok. But at least this gives you an idea of what we see. So at the end, I know we're ticking a little bit late here, I leave you with this one quote. And because I love quotes and a feel-good quote. At the end of the day, When we learn how to become resilient, we learn how to embrace the beautiful, broad spectrum of the human experience. And at the end of the day, learning to change, building your resiliency, and embracing this new experience that we're going to have and building these relationships that we'll have will only strengthen and give you a stronger presence with your marketing and your video marketing.
Great. We have a lot of questions and I know we're out of time, but I will promise to get through one of these questions right away. So I will, can you describe more what decision paralysis is? Rosie, I think that's for you.
Sure. So for me, decision paralysis, it refers to the piece when you're like gathering all of your information and then not knowing what to do with it. So I'm a pretty, my thinking style is that I like to have a lot of information before I make decisions typically, and because it kind of helps me be more strategic, knowing like what are all the different ways it can go. But I think within this crisis context where sometimes you can't have all the information or you just need to decide. So like an example of that for us was when we were figuring out how to do the registration for the event. We've really never used online registration that much before. So we were like researching all these different platforms and at a certain point, it's like, we just have to pick one, because if we don't, that's going to be the thing that stops us from doing a virtual event, which would be so silly for that to be the thing to stop us. So that would be an example of decision paralysis for me is having too much information stop you from actually making a decision.
Yeah, and I think, Elisa, in the beginning, you talked about the interconnected organism, and I think that speaks a little bit to your commit piece. Do you want to add anything there?
I think so. I think decision paralysis wouldn't happen if you actually had a plan or some sort of like mapped out journey. Even if it's not right, even if it's like needs to be pivoted, but at least you have a skeleton to work from. And so, you know, it happens a lot with organizations that they know what they want, they just don't know how to get started. If there's just so many ways to start, they're like, well, I don't know, so I'm just not going to do it. It's easier to just not do it. But what not doing does is put you so far behind the market and behind the curve that you actually lose traction and probably revenue as well.
So again, I know we're over time, but so if you have to leave us, please do. But I think we will send the recording. But there's one other question I promised to get through during this section, so I'm going to go ahead and pose it. How do you convince clients the value of spending money on video during this time? And I think both of you guys have a very interesting perspective. Rosie as the client and Elisa as the CEO and VP of Client Services at a video production company. I'm interested in both of your thoughts.
Rose, you want to field that one first?
Sure. So for us, I get more of the buy-in comes from our executive director, our board, right? Of having to talk to them about these kinds of different contingency plans that we were coming up with. And so in early March, as we were kind of plotting out these different ideas, we were kind of mentally preparing for them to be asking us these questions. How much does it cost? Certainly, but also just what are the pitfalls? Or so we were preparing this whole document kind of fully anticipating that we might really have to make the case and kind of advocate for this experiment we wanted to do. And then we actually ended up getting really lucky. And I mean, I shouldn't say getting lucky because we're always lucky in that our executive director really trusts us and our board also really trusts us. So we came to them with this idea and they immediately trusted us to move forward with it. So so we kind of anticipated it and then ended up not really having to tap into that to make a case. They too felt the urgency that we had to do something. So kind of agreed that this could be the something we try.
Great. Elisa?
In my own personal opinion, you have to spend money to make money. right? You cannot just assume everything's going to fall out of the sky. But having a strong marketing plan, a strong video plan, you cannot start cutting things from your plan, like we mentioned before, that are revenue generating. So if you can tack the metric on to whatever you're producing, whatever content that you need to get you to your business goals, then you're going to need to spend that money regardless. So how you spend it has to be very strategic and very smart. And you can do it. You don't need to spend $100,000 on one video. You can get so much content for in a way that we can be strategic about it depending on your goals. So if you know that your content is revenue generating, then you cannot fear from it. You have to be able to embrace it and move it forward, because there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And you have to be able to be on that committed journey to make sure that you're working with a team who's going to get you to those numbers. And so for us, when we were working with Iona, one of the first questions we asked is, how much money are we trying to raise? Because we want to make sure that what we provide them gives them that value, because we have a goal. We need to raise money. And that's where we focus our efforts. And so if that's the same for your marketing strategies, you need to just understand what the goals and the metrics are so that we can be purposeful about the content.
Great. So we got a lot of other questions about making a social, like creating a social presence, and, you know, how do you actually like leverage social media? So we're going to be following up on that. I think the important takeaway that I want to put out there is that through the funnel that Elisa shared, that is a big element of like earning trust and being able to kind of hold your viewers' hands through that entire journey, through the entire customer life cycle. One thing I think that Rosie's video for the virtual event did really well was just that. Like, how do you actually walk someone through the entire like process that they need to go through, from awareness all the way down to their customer experience? And so we're excited to share more of that insight with you guys. Thank you again for joining us for part 2 of our webinar. Again, we're excited to share this as a resource after the event. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. Rosie has graciously offered to be a resource as well, so we've provided her information here as well. We love hearing from you, so if you have any insight or any ideas of what you'd like to see in an upcoming webinar, please let us know. Again, my whole role as your account manager is to provide as many resources as I can, so do not hesitate to reach out. We're excited to hear from you about anything. So I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and we look forward to speaking soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.